Hi guys, thanks for joining me again. This week we're looking at part-whole problems again. Last week we were interested in those problems where we didn't know the whole amount. This week we're interested in those problems where we don't know one of the parts. Okay, let's start by getting you thinking. Once again we've got a problem to consider involving Han and Leah. It says Han had 30 sweets. He ate 17 of them, and we want to know how many sweets does Han have left. And Han is saying again, to find out how many sweets I have left, we need to take away 17 from 30, just like this. While Leah is saying, that's not true, there are lots of ways to work that out. And we want to know, who do you agree with, and can you explain your reasons? So once again, I want you to pause the video for 2 to 3 minutes, discuss with a partner your thoughts, and remember, justify those thoughts. Do you think it's always true, sometimes true, or never true that you have to perform a takeaway calculation just like the one Han's suggesting? Okay, hopefully you've been able to discuss your ideas with a partner, you've heard the opinions of other groups, and you've been able to justify your thoughts by giving reasons. In my opinion, Leah is correct once again. There are lots of ways to work this problem out without performing a calculation like the one Han's suggesting, so I'm saying it's never true. We can work it out this way, but there are always alternative strategies we can use instead. The most important thing here though isn't that you agree with me, it's being able to justify your own thinking by giving reasons. Before we get to investigating a problem this week, what I'd like you to do is have a go at a little activity with a partner. You can name yourselves player 1 and player 2. And for this game, you're going to need 2 pieces of paper or card, or really anything at all you can use to hide the resources. You're also going to need some counters, ideally up to about 20 in total, and you're going to need some tens frames. Just 3 or 4 tens frames will do. The first thing you're going to do is player 1, you're going to choose a number and you're going to make that number using the resources. Now, if you want to give yourself a mild challenge, then use no more than 10 counters. If you want to go for a spicy challenge, then you can use some of the tens frames, but once again, you're using no more than 10 counters. And if you want to go for an extra hot challenge, you can use some of the tens frames, and this time you're going to use more than 10 counters to make the number. So once you've made that number, you've put out the resources, the next thing I want you to do is close your eyes. Once you've done that, player 2, what I want you to do is you're going to take some of those resources, some of the number that player 1's put out, and you're going to put that on top of the first piece of card. Once you've done that, the rest of that number, the tens frames, the counters, you're going to place underneath the second piece of card. And once you've done that, you're going to tell player 1 to open their eyes. Now, player 1, what I want you to do is, can you work out how many of the counters and tens frames, if you've used them, have been hidden? Now, as you're doing that, you can use your fingers, you can use other resources to help to see what has been hidden under that piece of card. Take turns in having a go at that and see how many you can get. It's time to get investigating with a partner. As you can see, we're on the Death Star where it's lunchtime, and Darth has got 32 galactic credits that he's getting into the Death Star canteen with. He spends 18 of those credits on his lunch, and what we want to know is, how many galactic credits does he have left? As you can see here, we've got a part-whole problem again, like last week, only this time we don't know one of the parts. Now remember, the answer is not the most important thing here. The most important thing is that you can use a strategy to solve it, and you can explain how you did that by making your thinking visible. So pause the video for 8 to 10 minutes, and with your partner, use the resources that are available to you to solve it. Then I want you to draw pictures or diagrams to explain what you did to make that thinking visible. Can you find different ways to work this out? Now, if you finish before time's up and you can't think of any other ways to work it out, you can have a go at working out how much he would have left if he started with 56 credits and he spent 27 credits on his lunch. Once you've done that, you can share some of your strategies with the rest of the class. Okay, hopefully you've had a go at that, you've been able to work that out, you've used the strategy, you've maybe even come up with more than one strategy, and you've been able to share those strategies with the rest of the class. Once again, there are lots of ways we can work this out. I'd like to take you through 3 different possibilities. Okay, so let's have a think about how we might work this out. Now, to begin with, I'm going to put out resources to represent the 32 galactic credits that he starts with. That's the whole amount. That's what he goes into the canteen with. Now, I know that he spends 18 of those credits on his lunch, so I want to begin by taking away 18 from the 32. Now, I cannot do that in one go, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that in parts. Now, I can do this in any order. I'm going to start by taking away those 2 credits. So I'll put 2 credits towards his lunch, and I'm now left with 30. What I might do next is I might take away a 10. So if I take away 10, I'm left with 20, but you can see I've only put 12 credits towards his lunch so far. Now, how many more do I need? I need 6 more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 6 of those counters, and I've left myself with 14. So you can see there, his lunch is 18, and what's left, I've got 14 remaining once I take that away. And that strategy is called subtraction or takeaway. Okay, so let's have a look at another approach. This time, I'm not going to start with the whole amount. I'm not going to start with the 32. This time, I'm going to start with the part that I know. I'm going to put out resources to represent the 18 credits that he spent on his lunch. And while I do that, I'm also going to record this on a number line. So, I know that we're starting with 18, and I know that altogether he had 32. So that's our whole amount. Now this time, I'm going to see how much I need to add to 18 in order to get to 32. And again, I can't do that in one jump, so let's break this down into parts. So from 18, the first thing I might do is add on 2. Now the reason I'm adding on 2 is because that gets me up to a friendly number. It gets me up to 20. From here, I could add on 10. And because I'm at 20, that's really easy to add on. I'm now up at 30. Now, how many more do I need to add on in order to get to the whole amount of 32? I need to add on 2 more. And as you can see, I've now reached that whole amount of 32. The last thing I need to do here is just count up those jumps. I counted on 2, then I counted on 10, and then I counted on 2 again. So altogether, I've had to count on 14. Okay, so let's look at one last strategy. This time I'm going to start with my 32 again, so let's put out the resources to represent that. And this time I'm not going to take away the 18, I'm going to see if I can count back to 18 to see how many I'm left with. So let's put 32 at the end of the number line again, and this time we're going to count back to 18. Now, I can't do that in one jump, so let's do it in parts. Let's begin by counting back 2. And when I count back 2, I've got to 30. I've not reached my 18 yet, so let's keep going. The next thing I might do is count back 10. And when I count back 10, I'm now at 20. I've still not reached 18. How many more do I need to count back? I need to count back another 2, which gets me down to 18. So you can see there, we're left with the 18 for his lunch. And how much did we need to count back in order to do that? Well, I can add up the 2, the 10, and the 2 to get 14. Exactly the same answer as we got with the previous 2 strategies. Each of those strategies were quite different. Each of those strategies gave us the same correct answer. Obviously, it's really up to you to decide which of those strategies do you find easiest to work with, which do you think are going to help you solve part-part-whole problems where you don't know one of the parts. As a class, I'd like you to decide on a strategy and have a think about how you achieved success. What were the steps that you went through in order to get that correct answer so that you could apply that same success criteria to any problem for that particular strategy? Okay, so I'm going to have a think about the steps that I went through in order to solve that problem using one of those strategies. And as with any problem, we need to start by analysing the problem. We need to understand what it is we're being asked in the first place. And just like last week, I really did that for you. I drew the bar so that you could see we knew the whole amount. We knew he had 32 galactic credits to start with. We knew one of the parts. We knew how much his lunch was. And what we were trying to work out was how much he had left. So we're looking for the other part. Once I've analysed the problem, it's time to choose a strategy. And in this case, I'm going to focus on counting on. So when we're counting on, I'm going to start at the part we know, start at that 18, and I know that I need to count up to the whole amount of 32. Now, we could have done that by starting at 18 and counting 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and so on, but we didn't do that. We used jumps in friendly numbers. We started at 18, we counted on 2 to get to 20, then we counted on 10 to get to 30, and then we counted on the last 2 to get to 32, which gave us our answer of 14, and we worked that out by adding up those jumps. Okay, so it's time for you to try that out. Can you apply that strategy in order to solve the problems that you can see in front of you? Once again, we've got mild, spicy and extra hot problems. I want you to have a go at one set of problems, so just 3 questions. If you can do that, I want you to have a go at making up 3 problems for someone else to solve. Now, those problems, once again, aren't set in a context. It's just those bars where you know one of the parts and you know the whole amount. So let's think about setting those in a problem, setting it in a context to make sense of it. So if I was doing the first mile problem, rather than just seeing the 4, the question mark and the 12, I'm going to put it into a problem. I've got £12 to begin with, I spend £4 on a comic, how much have I got left? So as you're solving those problems, have a think about putting it into a context in order to make it easier to solve. And when you're making up those problems, you can do the same. You can either just draw the bars as they are, putting in the numbers where you know one of the parts and the whole amount, or you can write a word problem where your partner then has to analyse the problem and draw the bar for you. Okay, so hopefully you get on okay with that. You were able to solve those, you were able to apply a strategy that we've looked at today. Now what I'd like you to do is reflect on the following questions. What have you learned today? What did you find easy or difficult? Did you get stuck? What helped you when something got tricky? What did you need more help with? What is really making you think? And what are your next steps? It's really important that we do this because this is going to give us a sense of where we are with our learning now and what do we have to do next in order to develop an understanding of this particular strategy. The last thing I'm going to ask you to do today is have a go at applying what you've learned. So as a class, I want you to discuss the following problem and see if you can work it out together. Han and Luke are playing top trumps. They each start with 34 cards. So far, Han has lost 19 of his cards to Luke, and what I want you to work out to begin with is, how many cards does Han have left? Once you've had a go at that, can you have a go at the next question, which is, how many cards does Luke have now? Thanks for taking part this week. Hopefully you found that useful and you learned something new. I'll be back again next week where we're going to be looking at part-whole problems again, only this time we're going to be analysing those problems. Therefore, we might not know the whole amount, we might not know one of the parts. We're going to need to analyse in order to work that out. I'll see you then.